As I mentioned in my first review for the series, I got a random collection of Sweet Valley High books, and I do mean random because I jumped 6 books ahead to get to this one. Next I'm jumping 18 books ahead in the series, then I have a chunk of several books in a row in the 50s. I don't know who owned this collection before I did, but they are not a completionist. I'm only mentioning this because Lovestruck starts by saying last book was a kidnapping, and that is the second time this has happened! Why is my crazy collection always one book away from hostage adventures? I think the series is just teasing me at this point.
Argofont Book Review, Argofont Book Review.
Ken the quarterback is failing English class. If he doesn't get a good grade on the upcoming short story project, he'll be kicked off the team and Sweet Valley will lose the big football game. That obviously can't happen, so once again, Elizabeth puts herself in charge of somebody else's life. Being a casual acquaintance with this girl can be dangerous. We get a chapter to learn who Ken is. He seems like a nice guy who's always trying to do the right thing. Like with his rich girlfriend, Suzanne. He hates classical music, but she loves it, so he puts up with listening to Mozart all the time for her sake. I'd say that it's good for the two of them to try to share each other's interests, but the tagline on the cover tells me that she'll soon turn into a controlling monster who makes him do what she wants all the time. Ken and Elizabeth talk about the writing project. His problem is that he's got good ideas, but he doesn't know how to turn them into an actual story. Elizabeth gives him one of her stories as a guide to show how story ideas can be developed. He takes it home with him, and he's going to plagiarize it, isn't he? Ken has dinner at Suzanne's house, and he feels awkward around her rich family. Her dad starts complaining that schools only care about sports when they should be focusing on Shakespearean literature. Ken starts to worry he's just a dumb jock, good for nothing. Suzanne is nice and says that he's both smart and sweet. It was a cute scene, and I was sad to see that Suzanne does a complete 180 after this. She decides she doesn't like him after all, so she's going to turn him into a high-class snob like her. I have no idea why she flip-flops and trashes their relationship like this, because up to this point I was totally rooting for them as a couple. Ken tries to write, but the words aren't coming. Suzanne asks him out on a date, and he knows he should work on his story instead, but she's hot, so he says yes. The date is a disaster, because they watch an artsy Swedish movie that Ken doesn't understand at all, and Suzanne's friends make fun of him for not knowing the director's name. Poor Ken. He tries telling Suzanne that he doesn't really like Mozart and fancy movies, but then she kisses him, and he forgets everything ever. The subplot of the book is that Jessica is in charge of the Centennial School Carnival. I have no idea why Jessica is in charge, because she's unreliable, selfish, and hates working. She tries dumping all of the work on her friend Lila, but Lila is also unreliable and selfish, so she goes on vacation to New York. So Jessica's forced to find other people who will do her job for her. At 3 o'clock in the morning, Ken still hasn't written anything. In a fit of desperation, he turns in Elizabeth's story and says that he wrote it. The teacher loves the story so much, he decides to run it in the school paper. Elizabeth is horrified, while Suzanne is proud of Ken's literary achievements. Ken is so overwhelmed and conflicted, he has no idea what to do. No matter what he does, either Elizabeth or Suzanne will be hurt. Which girl is he going to let down? Is this the start of a love triangle? Ken has so many emotions, he has to write them down. He's inspired. He writes a short story about a sports player who steals somebody else's paper. The story's amazing and everybody loves it. Things look bad for a moment when Ken is summoned to the principal's office, but Principal Pushover gives Ken a free pass for plagiarism, because he was brave enough to admit the truth. So Ken gets a C instead of an A, which is still a high enough grade that he gets to play in the big football game. Of course, he wins the game single-handedly. He also breaks up with Suzanne after the game when she orders him to skip the carnival and go to a history lecture instead. The carnival goes well, although there's a mix-up with the caterers and Jessica is forced to make sandwiches herself. Elizabeth has great success with the kissing booth, and her lips are sore after kissing hundreds of men. I'm not sure why her lips are sore. I mean, a Wakefield twin kissing every guy in town? That's not really different from normal. The end. Post-book follow-up. My main beef with this book is that Suzanne does a complete personality change halfway through, and it's never explained why, because the narrative focus is always on Ken. We're left to guess that Suzanne was always a snob and just pretending to like Ken, but that begs the question of why Suzanne started dating him in the first place. She's clearly not interested in his personality, his interest, or his social status as a football hero. I don't see why they became a couple. The story was, well, predictable. I correctly guessed at the start that he would plagiarize Elizabeth's story, and we already saw the story of the poor boy confused by rich settings and rags to riches. Ken is a generic nice guy, a little bland, but that's okay. Elizabeth is a generic nice girl. I guess the best way to describe the story is just standard. Overall, I liked the book. I tend to prefer books that are light on Jessica, but I wouldn't go so far as to say I actively enjoyed the book. It was mostly standard fare, and I thought it was weird how Suzanne changes from the perfect girlfriend to a controlling snob halfway through with no explanation. I consider this an average book, so I'm giving it an average score. I give Sweet Valley High, number 27, Lovestruck, a 5 out of 10.